All right, so we back behind the camera. We got Dr. Austin Hill. This is Keys and Conversations, having tough conversations about the business of real estate. I am sitting with two of my favorite agents in the business and super dynamic. To my right is Taiye Singletary of the Singletary Phillips Group at C21 Harris Hawkins Co. Taiye, say what's up to the people.
Hello, everybody, and I am so excited to join the conversation and make it fun.
I appreciate you. To the left, we got the legend, Krystal Leonard of Compass, one of the most dynamic people who I've ever met, and someone that I was in the trenches with when I came into this business. So I got a certain level of respect for her because I know what it took to build. Like, the internet may see one thing, but I know the work she put in to build what she built. So we're going to pick up our conversation where we were talking about gatekeeping. Taiye and Krystal would kind of let us off. And I'm going to jump in with, I think both the points that you ladies made were correct. What I'll add to play a little bit of devil's advocate is I've seen a mixture, right? So we'll start from the veterans. I've seen veterans that want to give back out of sheer love, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they don't care anything about your background, where you came from. To your point, Taiye, if they see that you put in the time in, they want to give back to you, right? Mm-hmm. I've also seen others that give back not because they want to do it for the love, but they don't see your business model as a threat. You don't serve who I serve. So it's not like you're going to take money out of my pocket. But if you served who I serve, I wouldn't be giving you this game, right? But you're not a threat to me. So because you're not a threat to me, I can give it to you. But if you find a young contemporary who serves who I serve, nah, I'm not giving them the game that I give you because I don't see them as a threat. I've also seen social media play a part in what game that's given, right? So I've seen some take the approach of, here's this young dynamic person that is making this happen and I want to give. I've also seen it turn to hate, right? So I've seen it be, oh, well, that person ain't really necessarily doing any business. Oh, they good on the internet, blah, blah, blah. And then closing after closing after closing. Oh, now you a threat. So I started with love and game because I didn't think that you could be what you are. Now you are that. Now let me fall back, right? So I think it's a mixture because I think we need to hold to a different level of esteem those who purely give out of love, that don't care about the fact that it's affecting them. Now, with the newer ones, to your point, I think many of them coming behind us see us as, y'all are working directly with who I want to work with. So if I build a bond with you at an event, if I think your shoes is cute or your haircut look good, all right, we can exchange because I kind of like you as a person. But if I don't like you, even if I don't know you, you the ops, right? Because I want to, and in some cases, they'll develop the thought process of, I want to be you. I don't want to carve my lane. I want your lane because I feel like I'd be better at your lane than you are. So it creates a little bit more of a dog eat dog because they came in with, in my opinion, with the COVID mindset. I'm gonna get a license. I'm gonna just fall into a bunch of business, right?
This ain't selling sunset.
This ain't $1 million real estate.
Can
right?
we say that?
This is a fact. Like, it's not that. But I've also seen some of the younger ones who they want the game and stuff as well. But the problem is that they're being led by the wrong people. So they flame out of the business before they can meet a Taiye or a Krystal or a Jason or someone that wants to help them. They get partnered with maybe the wrong organization in their business that's like, I have to focus on retaining my top talent. I don't have the time to pour into you and to give you the game because if the people that are keeping the lights on leave, there is no business for me to have. So I think it's such a messy thing, but I think where we agree is the blessing that we had is we came into the business with people who had love for us. But to your point, they had love for us because we worked, right? But
they didn't even know that we technically worked, right? Because these are people who had their own brokerages, associate brokers, all of those great things. So it's just like, I've been burned by so many people, no matter what it looks like, that I am now scared to do this, right? So it then became, okay, well, if I show you that I have some value in doing open houses, and it ain't just, I mean, it's no matter what the price point was for these open houses, it was literally, I'm willing to do this. And when somebody can tell you, hey, I don't want to be a mentor. I respect it. But in the same sense, I'm still going to keep asking you questions. And at that point, it really behooved them to then show me the ropes, because it's like, dang, I done told this girl, absolutely no, I'm not training nobody. I don't want to be a mentor. She still keep knocking on my door. Because you can also feel the connection there too, right? And I say that because, prime example, many don't know, Krystal my baby, right? So like before, when we really got in, I had got in, and then Krystal was like, listen, this is what I want to do. Let's pull up. Let's go sit down.
And there, we're
going to figure out these questions. You got it. I also say, well, hey, just because I'm here at this place, don't mean you got to vet everybody. Because what is going to work for me, and we kind of, started this like this, is whatever works for me is going to work for me. And I know that even if you come alongside me, in front of me, behind me, wherever it is, you going to work it because that's what worked for you. And I know the power that Krystal had well before she even got into the industry, just because I knew what type of person she was. She's a hungry go-getter.
Right.
Boom. Give her the stuff. She gonna find the ropes to finish the rest. And that's what she did. And now we sit here holding powerful conversations because it's like, man, what? Nobody can tell me nothing. But she took the same steps of connecting with people who would work for her style.
So let me ask you this, Krystal. So off of that, that's perfect. You are someone, without speaking your business, who was successful before real estate, right?
That's correct.
What gave you a level of humility to go to another woman and sit down and have that conversation?
I couldn't pass. I'm not the best test taker. I know I'm not the best test taker, but academically I got it. So I was like, if I get in, I'm just going to break everything down, right? And I was like, oh God, I got to pass this on the first try. I'm like, look like you passed. So I wanted to try real estate. And I think that's a lot what people really don't know. This was something that was like poured into me in college. I like the economy. I like knowing numbers. I'm really good at it. And low-key a nerd. So what kind of happened, my Econ 2 teacher said, you'd be a great realtor. And I said, Grant, see, I told you at 18, we did have to pay for college to go. So you made me go. And so when I said, I'm going to try this now, I had a gap between me getting my master's and graduating. And that's when I reached out. I saw Taiye. I was excited. I was like, look, I got this perfect gap before I start my master's program to try. I'm going to try. And we sat down, we broke down the questions and made such a big thing small. Mm-hmm. And just like my first relationship for even getting into the game, I was introduced to real estate and what a team looked like from the Apple Store. I saw this lady coming on in. She had all this technology and she looked like, I'm like, you know what? I could do this. You look great. You look very polished. And I was like, well, what do you do? And she was like, I'm in real estate. And if you ever pass, call me. And I passed. And I called.
I remember that.
And that's where our story starts. So I'm like, okay, I can't say that the vets saw me as competition because they didn't know what I had.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I can't say that the young ones don't call me because I'm never gonna, sometimes agents call and they think that it's a good time to steal a deal. This is a time to encourage this person because there was a time when you needed help. Right. You were the newest person in the room. I just called the agent up. Everything's public information. Mm-hmm. People shared with me. I shared with them. This is what your client is feeling. She was looking to move in another direction, but this is how you save this. Mm-hmm. And you talk about respect on another level. It doesn't have to be online. It's a private one-on-one conversation and nobody knows about it. Mm-hmm. And the more you do that, you're going to face challenges. I did not know that deals did not close. I had a panic attack the first time a deal didn't close. I was like, they all don't make the table. What is she going to do? She can't move. She's moved out of her place and something happened with her credit. I was freaking out online, very vulnerable. I was crying. And I was just like, my broker called like, Krystal, this happens all the time. And I'm like, oh.
Take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath. And she was back under contract and in her house in 30 days.
I think, and the part that I want people to take from that is I don't think you're going to survive, especially if you're new in this business, if you're not willing to do that, right? Like, this is not a place for ego. You have to have a conversation with those who came before you. Also, I think the underlying conversation we're not having that we're going to have is some folks are manufactured, right? So that's where the uncomfortability becomes from, right? I've aligned myself with this person, so it's made me successful. I have this last name. I have this affiliation. So I've been able to fall into success versus like I can remember being in an open house with you and you doing stuff that people do in brokers opens on $1 million houses in this random city investment property, right? Like you showing up with the champagne and the mimosas and I'm like, oh, all right. So we're exchanging conversation in that because I see the value in it and it created a market for how you branded yourself, in my opinion, because nobody did that. You're not bringing the bottles out and doing those things on something in many cases under $300,000 or $400,000, right? But in my opinion, and I don't think that was your goal, you found this niche of I'm going to make everybody feel valued.
That's right.
So when the person comes to this open, you may not be able to afford the $1 million house, but this is a really nice $150,000 house. And I'm going to make you feel so good in this open house that you had the same experience as the $1 million guy, right? But that came from you understanding your value, you being self-made, and you came into the business with confidence, right? Like with Taiye, I got to know Taiye because every room I sat in serving the business, there was this woman that always had a challenge, right? Like if the conversation makes sense, let's flow. But if somebody starts saying some nonsense, Taiye Singletary is going to be like, all right, wait, no, we can't move the conversation forward. This don't make sense. Break it down or we need to challenge it, right? And Taiye has no picks, right? So you could be 20 years in the business, 30 years, started 5 minutes ago. If what you're saying doesn't make sense, she's going to challenge it. But it never comes from a place of hate or ego.
Absolutely.
Right? So I definitely think that this part of the conversation is extremely needed for folks. So now in pivoting, and I'm going to start this time with Krystal.
Sure.
So from your opinion, what can we do to evolve? So the blessing that I feel like.
So before you move,
okay,
I'm going to throw the curveball.
All right, let's do it.
All right, here's the curveball. What was your moment when you realized that even being new into real estate, that you were more advanced than the seasoned vet and you had to take over the dealer situation? Meaning that you're pushing through imposter syndrome. I think there are a lot of people who go through imposter syndrome, like this realtor is 10, 15 years in. I know what they're doing isn't right, but how am I going to tell them? Because I think that that's something important that others need to know. Because like you said, highly educated, you do your research. You know what's talking about inside, outside. This person, just because they've been in the business for so long, you give them deference and respect, but it's like, nah, I got to take this thing over. What was your moment and how did you handle it?
I just spoke. I'm going to let you. If y'all want me to go, I'll go.
That's a good one now.
All right, y'all think on it, I'll go.
You know.
So for me, my moment was, so my mentor, who became my mentor through jokes, kept saying, tenure and talent aren't the same. Mm-hmm. And you're going to find out real quick that some of the most wealthy and tenured people in this business ain't talented. And I got into a transaction with someone, and my upbringing in the business was contract first, sales later, right? So it was, the money will come, but you got to learn the business. So I'm on the phone with this person that is 20, 30 years my senior in the business, and they don't know what's going on. And they're being honest because, and it's not that they aren't smart. They have farmed a particular neighborhood for 20 or 30 years. They have sold certain types of houses with certain documents. And now this is a transaction that they want to collect a check on, but they're not well versed. So then they have to break down and say, hey man, like, you kind of sort of get this. Walk me through why we need to use these said documents. And in my mind, I'm thinking, it's no way you supposed to be asking me that, and you 20, 30 years my senior in this business. So me, like happy kids do, I run back to my mentor like, yo, I ran into that situation you said. I said, listen, it feels good, right? Great. Continue to do the work so you don't end up being that person, right? Like continue to do the work. Don't use this as I've arrived, because you ain't did nothing in the business yet, right? And that was my moment of understanding that as long as I perfect my talent, I can represent any client in any area that I want to represent. I'm not worried about how much money you made last year and who you serve.
I would say, in realizing that early on, Aaliyah said it best, which is age ain't nothing but a number. And honestly, sometimes when people are so focused on the one area that they've served for so long, they can't see outside of anything else. So being in, I would say, a brokerage that was in, I would say, Baltimore County, and knowing that those agents didn't want to step forth in Baltimore City, my number one question will always be why. And they would answer it, oh, because it's too far, blah, blah. That doesn't matter, because if it's coming down to contracts, they're all going to be the same. Maryland realtors produce these documents statewide for a reason. And the reason is so that we can all stay in compliance with what we're supposed to do in serving our clients. And so oftentimes when we get into those situations, I would always be like, well, with all due respect, I do know that you've been in the business for X amount of years. However, these are the new documents that we're now being submitted with. We have to follow compliance. Or it could be in a situation where, again, all due respect, I've known you've been in the business for X amount of years, but if you don't trust what I'm saying, I get that I've been in for 1 or 2 years, but go ask your broker. And it wasn't go ask your broker because I want to be, I guess, nasty about it, but more so because, hey, your broker is in place for a reason, because all of our license is dependent upon them. So at that point, hey, if your broker comes back and say the same thing that I'm saying, all you have to do is say, hey, Taiye, look, I apologize. Hey, apology accepted, because at the end of the day, we're working towards a common goal, and that is on the behalf of our clients. That's it. That's all. Be done.
And I didn't really even care about, I don't even bring it to like how many years somebody has been in it or whatever, like, because what were you doing during those years? And that's something that I really love about real estate. It's like either you sell or you don't. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm coming out of a challenging year, and what I saw is I got my first deal ever closed. The whole entire world shut down because of COVID. And then I joined a boutique brokerage that was like they poured and it set a foundation for me to learn. And we had no choice but to move, because I don't know about y'all, but COVID properties, it was like we're moving at such a fast pace that I got like dragged. We were busy, and I feel like that was the perfect opportunity to learn a whole bunch of deals at the same time and double my business. And in those interactions where you talk about documents, my broker like, that's not going to work for us. This doesn't work. Show me where this makes sense. Show me the work. And so now I can go back like, hey, and Taiye, no, I can say, I did not say, hey, baby, you've been in the business for this long. No, hey, this is where it says this. This is why this makes sense. And I think the biggest thing is this has to tell a story.
Yeah.
This is where the story falls apart. These are the documents that we have to use. Yep. We just have to. And a lot of people, even I can just call out a document. People were using the blank addendum, which I understood as like writing law. Like you can't write, law. So we use the change in terms now. That made sense to me. So I used that because people just wanted to write whatever. And if so, and wherever, I'm like, wait a minute, this don't even make sense. So not only did you not go to law school, but you're trying to change how we interact in this contract. And that doesn't work for me or my client. Yep.
I think both of you guys made an amazing point. I think the underlying thing is what ends up happening is Agent X builds their brand in whatever area. They do a great job. And then someone who has been impactful in their business, whether it's giving them deals or whatever, asks them to do business in an area that they don't normally do. But if they don't do it, it could cause a fracture in the relationship because they've sold themselves as a one-stop shop, right? Without actually being a one-stop shop. So now I got to do this thing that I really don't want to do. And I'm making too much money, not me specifically, but that person to go and do this research. Let me walk through this nonsense so I can continue this relationship when I'm not savvy. So then they run into Taiye, Krystal, Jason, or whoever else for that matter, and then they have that conversation. So some of it is, I get it. You can get spoiled, and in the way that, like when I came into the business, the way that it was taught is you farm neighborhoods that you're close to, you contact your family, you do all these cookie cutter things that are not actually real estate. And don't get me wrong, some people can do that. But to your point, for the most of us, we got to get outside and go everywhere. Harford County, Baltimore City, like wherever to be able to serve. And to your point, during the COVID period, yes, a lot of fast money was made, but I think you made an amazing point on if you didn't know what you was doing, it was sink or swim too. Or it was ethics violations, lawsuits, and real estate jail because you didn't have the time when you fighting with 25 other people to get a house and your client, forget negotiating, they're expecting that you can explain these documents to them in a way that is palatable before they sign something to go and do the biggest transaction of their life. You can't then come and be like, I don't know what this addendum means or what that means. You got to be able to do the work. But also, I think the thing that holds us back, and I hope some of the young agents that see this get it, is ego. Because sometimes the ego is so strong that it's like, I'm not reading this document. I don't think I'm going to ever do business in this area again. So why am I going to invest my time to educate myself in this way when I don't have to do that? And that's what leads to this culture of the blind leading the blind.
But I also say too is that no matter age, who you are, where you want to serve, the foundations never change. The fundamentals will never change. And as long as everybody, new or old, stick to that, I honestly think our industry would be okay. But first they have to understand what those foundations are. And if you, yes, Google and YouTube University is there. There's nobody that can say, and I think I'm going to stand on a nobody, can say that they don't know because of all of the information that is out there. However, you then have a broker that is going to back you, right, and help solidify the things that you are learning and help teach you in order for you to understand what it is that you need to know about this industry. Everything else will flow.
Well, hold on. I think your point is valid, but here's where I'm going to pivot a little bit and I'm going to add. I think we under the impression that all brokerages are created equal. Like,
well, we know they not.
I don't think that, like, I think something I learned coming into business real early is if you come out of real estate class and then you start doing business real fast, brokerages will forget that you don't know what you're doing. Right? Now, you could have had a powerful network. You could have had people that had transactions that held them because I want to make sure that my sister or my little cousin get to sell it. But that don't mean you know what you're doing. So then you come in and start producing. And now brokerage X is like, oh, you know what you're doing. It's not until you come up in somebody's ethics claim and you didn't know what was going on, then they realize, oh, we wasn't really policing you and understanding it. On top of the fact that you guys have been blessed to be a part of some strong brokerages, but there's a lot of brokerages out here that don't have a training program. As a matter of fact, they will turn agents away and say, hey, you know what? We ain't really the brokerage for you because if you don't kind of know what you're doing already, we don't want to train you and we don't want to run that risk. Not understanding that in this business, you have to be able to train because things change so often that it'd be one thing. I mean, I get it. Some of the old heads came in and they had the same documents for 25, 30 years. Great. We ain't in that season. We're in a time now where legislation can change
in the blink of an eye.
Blink of an eye. Yeah. So I think it's a blessing. I also want to go to something that Krystal said. I always loved the term boutique brokerage, right? But here recently I'm realizing that I've used it in a flawed way because I think sometimes it projects to the real estate world that it means small. Nah, because it's some boutique brokerages that if they had the financial assets of the old stalwart names would eat their lunch every day, right? But it's cool, the way that they steer people away from it is Brokerage X's boutique. They a little small shop or whatever. They cool. Not understanding that they doing business at a better clip and at a better volume. And I think this pivots before I toss this to Krystal, something that I want young people to get as well. When you're making a decision on where you want to go do business, commission ain't everything. It's who is going to get you into that framework. There's
Compensation.
Yes, and compensation. Excuse me.
Just bleep that out.
Yeah, bleep that out. Compensation. I'm sorry. Compensation ain't everything. Like sometimes you have to find the agency that is going to fit your skill set from a training perspective, and then once you manage that, I think, from my opinion, and I'll ask you guys, then you can advance to who has the right tech, who offers what to fit my clients. But first, you got to get to the point of them having the tools to help you build in the business. So I'll toss it to you, Krystal, from your perspective. What tips and tricks would you give to younger people coming behind us that are trying to figure out, all right, I don't want to fail in the business. How do I pick the right place to go and do business?
I think it should feel good. I approached my brokerage home, like via DM. I just liked the way Tiffany talked about information. And I was like, I love it how intelligent people talk. And I was like, oh, she knows her stuff. Let me send her a DM. And that's how first of all, I started off at a big brokerage and I was lost. And I was like, I showed up, I was part-time, it was cold, it was empty. I'm showing up at 6:00, nobody's there. So I'm just like, I guess I'm just gonna put these people in a CRM and send them an email. I guess it's gonna work out one day. And I just started sending them emails and I'm like, okay, well, I got my first deal from a lender partner. He gave it to me. And I was like, okay, this thing is networking. I can network. One thing I can do, and I always have done, is network. How many lender friends can I meet? How many people touch this transaction that I can build a relationship with? So then I moved to a brokerage where I noticed that I didn't know anything. I said, wait a minute. These are documents. I got them under contract and then, I let it go. I'm like, all right, I'll see y'all at the inspection. Okay, what we doing? Okay, let's negotiate. And I'm like, oh wait, we got to do all 30 of these documents every time. So then I'm like, okay, we need to know what these documents mean. And so I started to see that at the smaller brokerage, it was a level of intimacy there where I'm able to ask questions and not be looked at as to why I don't know this. My license is new. It's still shiny. And so it's okay to be new. It's okay to ask questions and it's okay to interview at different places to see which one is a good fit for you. Because I've heard great things about KW having the best training systems ever.
Believe that, sir?
Oops, sorry.
No, you good. Keep going.
Oh, sorry. I've heard about different brokerages having systems that work for different people, being able or exposed to different levels of technology. But then also you have to learn to see what you need specific to what works best for you. The cold office was never going to work for me. Nobody's there. And then the office that's, a little close to my house. I got the kid now. So it's like, okay, this could work out. And it's in the city. Hey, let's do it.
Taiye, same question. How did you, we'll say, I'm not sure how many brokerages you may have been at, but from your general thought as a team lead, how would you say that people should take their time to evaluate where they work?
So first figuring out exactly, like Chris said, exactly what you need. And you may not know exactly what that looked like or sound like in the beginning. But again, Google does exist for a reason, and everything on Google is not inaccurate. So what I did was compiled a list, and honestly, one of our faves, TC Temple, has this, but it literally was a spreadsheet, and it said all of the brokerages that I was going to interview with and the specific questions: parking, compensation, training, all of those things in one. And I would go home and sit down and say, hey, all right, well, this is what they're offering me. Do I want to accept it? But it wasn't just what was on the spreadsheet. It was also how you made me feel.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, nobody can give me the work ethic that I have. It's something that I've earned and did repetitively over time. So whatever they was going to give me was just going to add to what I already had. And what helped me solidify was I strategically said, I'm going to go into an office where I know they don't want me. I'm going to go into an office where I know there is no me. Because as much as I can receive something from them, they can receive something from me. And it was me traveling to an area where was just unfamiliar territory to me, where a lot of people in the beginning was like, oh, Taiye don't serve us because she's always out here. That wasn't the case. It literally came down to, okay, this is where I know I'm going to learn additional fundamentals. And then once I get that, hey, I'm always going to stay in connection with these people because we've built the relationship. And literally, I can still call them to this day, but I need just a little bit more of how to say certain things, honestly, because of the color of my skin. You know, the neighborhoods that we truly are not forced to serve, but certain neighborhoods we just know it's a little bit more difficult to get into because of what we look like, what our gender is, and all of those things. So I know what they did to be in that market. And so I said, okay, once I learn what I need from them, I'll just go somewhere and take it to my community. And that's honestly what I did. And so it worked. But that spreadsheet, it's literally key. I've met with friends who were in the business longer than me, had their own team or had their own brokerage. Their style just didn't work because I knew my key thing was through Google, what are the fundamentals of real estate? It simply says cold call, send mailers, do this, door knock, do cold calls every day, sit in the office, do opportunity time, or what some people will call desk duty. Honestly, desk duty really doesn't exist because most offices now have what you call an admin that sit there, but that's literally opportunities that you were willing, because we are part-time agents, willing to do on the weekend or after hours. The phone may ring or the phone may not ring, but if it did, you knew you needed to know your stuff. You knew you needed to know what was in the MLS every single time. It could be a $50,000 listing or it could be $1 million listing. At the end of the day, if you didn't know it, you had to sound confident because people were going to be able to pick up what you knew and if you were able to serve them. And every time I did something, I knew I was able to serve everybody because that was just a level of confidence I was determined to have. And the brokerage that I was in at that time honestly helped me get there.
I think you're making an amazing point with that. I will say the reason why I think boutique brokerages matter because the story that you gave is very much the dual career agent story. And that's a population that falls by the wayside. In pre-COVID, it wasn't just that the offices were empty. You were taught, especially at bigger brokerages, we keep bankers hours. You come in during the day, you sit at the desk, you work rental leads. Like there was a trajectory. There was occasionally people that popped in the evening, but no one was considering the dual career agent because the way it was always spent, at least in my time in the business, was if you're not fully in the business, you ain't part of the business, right? And this is why boutique brokerages matter because people like those boutique brokerages can see an area of opportunity and say, all right, this is where we need to go. Like this is a group of people that we need to cater ourselves to. So now we've gotten to a place, I feel like at this point in my career, where if you come in dual career, I feel like if you go to the right place, you're going to get just as much training as you would if you were full-time.
Absolutely.
To close out on this topic, I'll say and share that I think office managers and brokerages are such an unsaid thing. Everyone always thinks broker. Do I have a relationship with the broker? For me, and I'll use the name, my initial office manager was Patty Kallmeyer. And I took real estate class at the brokerage where she worked. And then when we got out of it, she met me and was like, try it here. But what I thought was interesting was she met with every agent, including me, every month. And the purpose of that conversation was to understand me, understand my background, the fundamentals of what made me me, which then eventually, like, the only thing we ever argued about was me wanting a mentor. Like, I felt like mentors were like, all right, these people gonna play with me. I can go and learn and do the work. And she was like, listen, I'm learning more about you. I'm gonna curate somebody and I'm gonna get you to talk to somebody. We got to a point and she was like, based on what I've learned after these 6 meetings that we've had, 1 hour each, about your personality type, this is somebody you should chop it up with. And funny enough, because the world is that way, is someone that I was joking and beefing with in passing that ended up being my person. But I think what I want people to take from this conversation is the level of pre-work, and sometimes mistakes were made, right? Like Krystal gave her story, and I say this as someone who at one point was in an office with Krystal at 6 p.m., and I had already been there during the day, right? But I jumped out there and realized, all right, I haven't done enough in the business to go home yet. So now I got to sit with this dual career person and chat with her and see what her thoughts are, because these people going home because they got business on the books, right? So talk to people around you. And what I love about this dialogue is some of the same veterans that showed y'all love at different times in your career showed me love in mine, which goes to show we started this whole thing with gatekeeping or whatever. Those who genuinely want you to win, the population ain't as big as we think.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? So great point. I love this part of the conversation. Now we're going to pivot a little bit.